Jonathan Swift, one of the greatest satirists in English literature, remained an influential figure whose work continues to captivate readers centuries after his death. Best known for Gulliver's Tale, Swift's wit, political activism, and keen observations on human nature establish him as a literary giant. His life was marked by the controversy, intellectual brilliance, and commitment to exposing the flaws of society. This essay explores Swift's life, his major work, his enduring influence on literature and political thought. Jonathan Swift was born on November 30, 1667 in Dublin, Ireland. His father, Jonathan Swift, had died before his birth, leaving his family in financial difficulties. Swift's mother, Abigail Eric, ensured he received an education and he was sent to Kilkenny College, one of the best schools in Ireland at the time. He later attended Trinity College, Dublin, where he earned a degree but found little satisfaction in his studies. Political turmoil and disrupted Swift's earlier career. Following the Glorious Revolution of 1688, he moved to England and worked as a secretary to Sir William Temple, a diplomat and writer. During this period, he was introduced to prominent political and literary figures, which shapes his intellectual growth. It was also during this time that he met Esther Johnson, known as Stella, who would become one of the most important figures in his personal life. Swift's early writing reflected his sharp mind and satirical talent. In 1704, he published A Tale of a Tub, a satirical critique of religious and excesses and hypocrisy. The work was controversial as it criticized both Catholic and Protestant faction, leading some to question Swift's own religious belief. That same year, he also wrote The Battle of the Book, a satiric piece defending classical literature against modern writers. Despite his literary career success, Swift pursued a career in the Anglican Church. He was ordained as a priest in 1694 and served in Ireland. Although he found the work frustrating, Swift desired a more active role in English politics, and his opportunity came when he aligned himself with the Tory government, writing political pamphlets that supported their policies. Swift's political writing gained him considerable influence. He became a leading voice for the Tories and was appointed the editor of the Examiner, a party-affiliated newspaper. His pamphlets, such as The Conduct of the Line, attacked the Whig government handling of the War of the Spanish Succession. However, his political fortunes changed in 1714 when the Tories fell from power. Queen Anne, who disliked Swift, refused to grant him higher position in England. He was forced to return to Ireland, where he became the Dean of St. Patrick Cathedral in Dublin. Though disappointed, Swift did not abandon his writing. Instead, he turned his attention to Irish affairs, wrote some of his most famous work during this period. One of the most scathing critics of British operations was A Modest Proposal, a satiric essay that suggested the poor Irish might solve their economic woes by selling their children as food to the rich. The essay shocked readers but effectively exposed the credulity of English policy toward Ireland. Swift's ability to use satire to provoke thought and social change remained unparalleled. Swift's most famous work, Gulliver's Travels, is often mistaken as a child adventure story, but it is in fact a sophisticated satire of human nature, politics, and society. The novel follows Lemuel Gulliver as he voyages to fantastic land, each representing different aspects of human folly. In Lilliput, the many miniatures people symbolize the pettiness of political conflict and government bureaucracy. In Brobdingnag, the giant inhabitant contrasts the Gulliver's small stature, highlighting the flaws and moral corruptions of humanity when viewed from a different perspective. In Laputa, the floating island of intellectuals satirizes the absurdity of impractical science and detached academia. In Howmans, Swift presents rational heroes as superior beings, contrasting them with the Yahoos who represent the savage based nature of mankind. The novel beating critics of European society and its institutions solidified Swift's reputation as a master satirist. Despite its humor, Gulliver's Travels is ultimately a pessimist reflection on human nature, questioning whether people are truly capable of moral and political progress. As Swift ages his health deteriorated, he suffers from bouts of illness, possibly mania, disease, or a form dementia. His later years were marked by solitude, bitterness. He continued to write but withdraw from public life. Swift died on October 19, 1745 in Dublin. His epitaph, which he wrote himself, read, "Here lies the body of Jonathan Swift, where savage indignation can no longer lacerate his heart." His legacy endure as one of the greatest satirical writing in the English language. His work continues to be studied and admired for their sharp wit, political insight, and fearless critics of human nature. His ability to use humor as a weapon against corruption and injustice remain relevant in today's world. Jonathan Swift's life was filled with ambition, controversy, and intellectual brilliance. His work, from a modest proposals to Gulliver's Travels, serve as powerful critics of society that challenge reader to think critically about power, politics, and human nature. Swift's legacy is not only as a master of satire but also as a defender of truth in a world often blinded by self-interest and hypocrisy. His writing remains a testament to the power of literature to inspire change and provoke thought, ensuring that his influence will never fade.